Okay, everybody. This will look at a new weldment environment, a new capability within multi-body parts, some new things for tab and slot, which was introduced last year, and then drawings. That's what we'll be looking at for this webinar. And then the next one, we'll be getting into assemblies and some of the performance enhancements that they've brought into 2019. That'll be next month. So the new weldment environment is structured systems. It is, as you see, an advanced weldment for creating large welded structures as well as complex welded structures. If you've ever used weldments before this, you know that you create your sketches, your reference geometry essentially, and then you have to, for each profile, type, or size change, create a new feature. Structure Systems aims to make that much simpler and more mainstream, streamlined process. We'll go ahead and just hop right into SOLIDWORKS, take a look at it. So I've got my reference geometry set up currently. This was created just with some surface extrudes as well as a sketch for the webbing. I'm going to go ahead and hide this. We'll get to it later. And you can access the structure systems from the sheet metal tab, and it opens up kind of like if you go into a sketch. However, there's no like new sketch tab, but you can tell over here that we are now in the structure systems environment. So the first thing we're going to do is create our primary members, and you can use edges. You can actually just use planes, even point length members. So if you have a point, you can set a specified length. Then you can even do surface and face intersections. We'll just go ahead and grab all of our edges, and then we use the profile tab to set our profile the same way we do with normal weldments. This one has all of our different configurations. We got round tube, rectangle, and square. We've set square and 10 by 10. So that quickly uses all of the edges that we selected to create our base structure. And then from there, we can say OK. But if we want to change something, say make all the verticals round tubing, previously we'd have to select or create them individually, or at least as a single group but a new feature. But in 2019 with structure systems, I can just select my verticals and then change the profiles as I need. So we'll go ahead and change these to 10-inch round. Say OK. So we can see now we have both square tubing and round tubing that was all created at the same time within the same environment. And to add more structure, we go into secondary members. So here we will come down for support planes. So we've created planes in our reference geometry, use the top plane and then our plane 3. And anytime we designate the locations we wish, it will lay our profile where that plane is. And we're going to go ahead and link them. So this allows us to chain around our selections. And then I'm going to select all of my vertical, and you'll see the members being added just as I select around, both at the top and the bottom, the two planes we selected. And so from here, we can change, again, the profile as need be. I'm going to go back to square tubing, just like that. And so that's real simple, easy. I now have my structure is made up of 3 different profiles, all within the same, not having to create multiple features over and over again to achieve this. And then last, we can bring our sketch back and then go ahead and grab it and change it as well. This will be 7-inch round, and we've now added it. Nice and easy. Now, when we're happy with what we've got, we can go ahead and exit the environment. And this will pull us into corner treatment. So you have the simple over here, as you see. You have simple and complex. Zoom in a little bit. Simple is what you just finished with. So if you just created a small element, it immediately takes you kind of into that area. So I come down here, and then I can just change this. I want that to be, flush with it. And then we'll go to complex, and that will actually scan the entire environment that we created. So you can see all of the points and joints and corners that we can then go in and take a look at. So if I select this one, this is much like the joint you're used used to if you've ever dealt with weldments. We can see that this is kind of not the easiest thing to be complicated manufacturing, cutting that in like that. So we'll just move it down and get that nice flush where it just stacks on top of it. And we could go through and do this to all the corner that we need. I'm just gonna go ahead and say okay, and then load up, save us some time, load up one that already has all the corner treatments. So we can come in and see how all of the corners and joints have been cut using that corner sort of treatment style. And then from here, it's as simple as just using normal circle pattern. We'll do bodies and we'll pattern our webbing around using our axis, just like that. So all of this, we've got 4 different profiles in different angles and verticality and horizontal. All takes up a grand total of 3 features, whereas in current weldments you'd have to have many features with potentially subgroups and having to go through and change all of the joints and corners at different times, and it can be very time consuming and hassle. With new structure systems allows us to create complicated structures very simple like this. So again, it's more ways to capture that 2D and 3D design. Create your reference geometry and then jump right into laying your profiles nice and easy, all within one to two features. Next, we're going to look at the multi-body tools. So if you've ever dealt with multi-bodies, you know that sometimes we may bring it apart and lay it in and then trim it, or do various different things trying to stack and create a multi-body part. And now in 2019, we can use interference detection within a multi-body part, not just assembly. So this saves us time, allows us to know if we have any interferences or we need to trim something that we've missed without having to wait when we get to the assembly and we've already made it a bunch of things and we're trying to maybe do a move with collision detection and it's telling us it's already colliding. So just to show this real quick, I'll get over into my multi-body part, and it's just within the evaluate tab. You can add it here, right there. So we can now use this on multi-body parts, and we'll see that it'll calculate it for us. And then it should be 3 locations that have the issue, and it highlights them. Let it think for a second. There we go. So we see down here, and then our 2 other ones where we just need to go in and trim our connecting pieces down to the boundary pieces. So that's a nice feature if you use a lot of multi-body parts. Things like what this structure is, where you may have to trim things and you can check it before you actually bring it into your assembly and potentially have that already colliding error message. You can avoid it by being able to do interference detection on the multi-body part beforehand. So again, it just saves time when creating these complex. So next is the tab and slot enhancements. So we have unequal offset for slot holes. So that allows you to set the gap distance from the slot to the hole. You can see kind of the little images here letting you know if you want to have the vertical distance more than the horizontal distance, you can set that as you need. You also have the no through cut option, so you can allow it to cut all the way through or just certain depth. That allows you to control that a little bit more. And then there are new corner types instead of just the sharp square that we have as of the 2018, which isn't very easy and conducive to machining. They've added now a fillet corner, as well as chamfer corner, and then you have circular corner as well. So all of these allow you don't have to go in and essentially add more features to, if you will, post-process your tab and slots within SOLIDWORKS for machining purposes. You can just go ahead and select the corner type that you need to generate the type that you'll be machining. And again, as I mentioned, the no through cut, so you can cut for blinds, can now be through all, and it's unchecked by default, but you can change the default or just check it as need be. And then we have an option to link groups together, so that allows you to, as you creating your tabs and slots, if you want to link them together, that if you change one size, they all change. Kind of this associativity that SOLIDWORKS is known for, just on the smaller level of the tab and slot features being able to be grouped. Now we're going to take a look at drawings. So there's a lot of little nice enhancements here. We have another way to create a section view. We have more flexibility with whole tables. If that's something you use, this should be pretty nice. We can now control when you have very complex drawings or many sheets or various things of that nature, where you're still in the process of changing the models or the assemblies. We can now turn off automatic updates for the views to save us some time when we're going back and forth, and when we only care about, say, maybe a section view or a detailed view. And then once we're finished, then we can update the whole drawing at once, and that saves us some time. We now have more detail within our bill of materials, as well as in 2018 the open progress indicator for assemblies was introduced, and that has now been brought to drawings in 2019. And we can even change cell border thickness within our tables if we need to sort of give more clarification within the tables that we create. So moving back over to SOLIDWORKS, go ahead and open up our drawing. And you can see the open progress indicator at the top. Lets you know what levels it is at. As you saw, there were 3 points. The first one is it essentially opening the part and all the different views. Second one is kind of validating and doing the rebuild, and then the last one is just rendering everything out. Pretty much, unless you have a really large or performance intensive drawing, most of that is kind of negligible to the eyes. So here we have our drawing, and we need to create a section view for this view down here. And we can use the new removed section, which you can just add to your view layout tab. And it's real straightforward, so you just need to pick 2 opposing edges. So pick here and here, and then it gives you the section line, and you can see how it is bound to those edges. So you can get some pretty unique orientations as need be, but I'm going to just drop it right here, and then it creates our section view, our sliced section view, directly perpendicular down or up to our cut line. So this allows us to create, slice views very quickly. And again, with that, being able to lock it kind of in between the 2 edges, you could get some kind of, like I said, an advanced method of getting unique cuts. Now we'll take a look at here. We have a this is a high precision part. This, I believe, goes to one of the optical lenses housings for a new telescope that's currently being built in Hawaii. It'll be one of the most powerful in the world. and we have our machining tolerances, and we need to add in some more information to them. So we now have the tolerance modifier, and we can add specific limits to them straight to the dimension instead of having to add them as notes or have them kind of floating off to the side. We can go ahead and just add them directly in like this. So you can see all of the symbols we have, and you can even go into more symbols, different tolerancing schemes, whatever you need. It can be added directly to our dimension. And when we say OK, it will auto arrange it, so it pushes it out from any clutter. And then next, we'll take a look at our whole tables. So whole tables have seen improvements, allowing us to, when we create them, more capabilities and tweaks that we can make. So we'll go ahead and hide our origin. We have reduced toolpath. So this aligns it in what SOLIDWORKS CAM or CAMWorks would designate as the best and quickest toolpath to create the holes, or we can also do it radially. So it makes just a radial around the origin that we selected. So different options for how you want your tags to be ordered. And then we can even manually control our tags in 2019. So if I want this to be a double A, this to be a double B, we can now update, and you see they automatically and quickly change. And we can even combine our sizes, and then all of this can also be done without getting into the table properties. Just a simple right click into the cell, and then we can come to assigning our new prefix and change it just like that. So we can change it here just as well as we can change it within the properties. And then we now have the border edit. So this is where we can come in and actually change the size of our borders. If we want to say grab that right there, we can thicken it up and get out of that, and you'll see that it is now thicker. We can do that for multiple boxes. We can do it for various things, and it's pretty simple. We can come in here and grab this one. Let's see. It's not going to let me do it. Okay. And allows us to change the borders, so we could more draw attention to the different areas that we need to maybe kind of designate differently. And then we have our bill of materials, which now has the option or the capabilities of having essentially thumbnail previews for each part. So it reduces and removes any questions about exactly what a part is. When we maybe send this to someone that's not familiar with our assembly, hasn't really been big within the project, they're not wondering what what a part is. They can just hover over and see exactly what is being called out. And then we can take this even further when we save out our assemblies or our bill of materials into Excel. We now have the thumbnails checkbox, which will save all of those thumbnail previews to the Excel sheet. And that we can see down here. I've already saved one out. We have all of our thumbnails right there. And again, this allows us, we could print this out, send it to a vendor or one of our customers, whatever you need, and there is very little room for any type of error. I also have the ability to do the automatic update. So if I say I'm only interested in looking at this view, I can control select the views I don't want to update and use the new exclude from automatic update. So we'll go ahead and check that and say OK. So these will now not update unless I force them to. And if we go in and make a change, say we do a little simulation or something and realize that we need this to be a little thicker. So we bump it up to 13. There we go. And then when I go back to my drawing, you see it's doing the update, but our views that we deselected and the views that are associated with them, so the detail view and our slice section view, also no longer update. Again, this allows us to go back and forth between the model and the drawing without bogging the computer down, updating every single view. Really good if you have a massive assembly or a many multi-sheet drawing. You can just turn off the views you don't need, and then when you're ready to update them, you can do the update view option that now appears in the right-click menu. This is useful for if you just want a single one to update, and then when you're completely finished, you can just do a rebuild, and that will push all of the updates to all of the views that are out of date. So that allows us again to control more and get better efficiency and performance out of our drawings. So that brings us to the end of the attention to detail, which also brings us into the full parts level